Welcome back to Approved AF, the mortgage licensing podcast where we talk about building your mortgage business without the chaos. I'm your host, Catalina Stepanoff, and today we are diving into a conversation every high-achieving leader needs to hear. I'm joined by Jen Anderson, transformational coach, accountability expert, and Amazon best-selling author of the book, Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No. If you've ever struggled with overgiving, perfectionism, or the pressure to say yes to everybody but yourself and your dreams, then this episode will help you rewrite those stories and rebuild your confidence from the inside out. So let's jump in. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode.
Hi, Catalina. It's so lovely to see you today.
For any listeners out there who don't know who you are, can you just give us a little bit about your background and how you became a accountability and transformational coach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jen Anderson, and I like to call myself, I change my little title all the time, but I like to call myself a beliefs and boundaries specialist because I learned early on that setting those boundaries and really shifting those beliefs, that the stories that we tell in our mind, that's so important. And so I spent a lot of time really struggling in my younger years, trying to figure out who I was, what I wanted to be, what that all looked like. And I had a great mentor and friend who I worked for about 11 and a half years, who kept telling me to look into coaching. He's like, you should be a life coach. You should be a life coach. And finally one day I just took the plunge and I did it. And so I got certified as a health coach and a life coach and a transformational life coach and just all the things, right? But what I've really learned over those years is that everything comes down to our mindset. Everything comes down to those stories we tell ourselves and the boundaries that we hold, and really even how we hold ourselves accountable. So I'm a certified accountability coach, just all of those things. But I spent so many years overgiving and being the yes girl for everyone that now my big passion is to help women overcome that too. Because we don't all, and men have it too, don't get me wrong. Men, you're great, you're wonderful, but I really relate to those women, right? Like the women out there, we just need someone sometimes to just believe in us, to just borrow a little belief so that we can really grow and get to where we want to be. So that's really how I became this person and why I'm on this trajectory. It's been a lot of trial and error and learning my human design. I've learned that is part of my human design. So you get all that benefit. It's really great.
So a lot of our listeners are high performing loan officers. And so specifically talking to the female high producing loan officers that are driven, but are maybe talking to themselves and having that yes mentality, that limiting belief system, and not comfortable to be confident enough to step out and start their own brokerage. That's kind of where the space of the focus of kind of who we're talking to today. And you actually wrote a book, not just, wrote a book, it's an Amazon best-selling. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and how it ties into your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote a book called Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No. And it's all about learning how to give yourself permission to say no so that your yeses actually mean something. It ties directly into my coaching because I run all of my coaching through a belief of beliefs plus boundaries equals bliss. So shifting limiting beliefs, setting those healthy boundaries around the new belief
Mm-hmm.
helps us to find our bliss. So for any of you listening, it's not about like these big, massive steps. It's just these little tiny steps that really help us to make the changes we want, to become the person that we really want to be, or step into the role of whatever it is. If you're wanting to start your own brokerage, like just really stepping into that and being like, I can do this one step at a time. And that's what learning how to say no helps women do. Because we, like I said at the very beginning, like we always say yes to everything. And when we can learn to prioritize ourselves and say no, and then bring the yeses back so that they're ours, it's a game changer for everything.
And I think that's so important that whether you're working for somebody else or even working for yourself, a lot of the people in the mortgage space are not only selling products that their companies offer, but they're also service driven, businesses. And so having good solid boundaries with yourself, with your team, with your clients, those are all important areas to be able to hold the line of no and also be able to give a yes when appropriate.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's, if I can interject this, that's one of the things I found the most with working with women is that it's really easy for us to say no to ourselves and not let ourselves have anything, but it's really hard to say it to somebody else. And when you flip that and you prioritize what you need, everything else changes. Everything else starts to fall into place because now your brain says, oh, you're taking care of me, and I'm going to make sure everybody else, like, it makes sure everybody else takes care of us. And one of the things I found is when we do that, when we prioritize ourselves, people look at us differently. People treat us better because they know when we're not. And that might seem, yes, and that might seem hokey, but it's so true. Like, I didn't believe that for the longest time. I thought, no, that's not. But they do. They look at you different because they know that you value yourself. They get it. So if you feel like nobody values you, look at how you're valuing you. That's the first step right there.
You work with a lot of high achieving people, and in your experience, what prevents leaders from stepping out and starting that business, or ones that have started a business taking it up a notch and reaching their full potential?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's ironic that you asked me that question because that's something I have been really exploring lately because I'm shifting into a little different setup. And the big thing is, it's not strategy. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. It's not their job. It's not the economy. It's them. It's their mindset. It's that they don't feel like they're enough or they have imposter syndrome. Who am I to be doing this? Or I don't want to let people down. Or what if nobody likes me? Like that is the underlying thought that's in there. What if nobody really likes me? What if nobody works with me? No, what if nobody they like me doing this, but what if they don't like me over here? And that's what keeps us stuck. And it's the story that we don't even realize is running on repeat in our head. And that's the key to shifting that.
So, how much of it is mindset versus how much of it is execution?
Well, we need execution, right? We have to be able to execute. But if you're not ready or your mindset's not ready, you're not going to execute. You're not going to follow through. You're not going to do that strategy that you need to be doing. So I think, the big key is being ready, evaluating, like really understanding that there's something there. You don't even have to know what that something is. That's where somebody else can come in and help you. But really understanding that there is a reason you are stuck and being ready to move forward and wanting that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy because it's not. It's hard. It takes work, it takes practice. If any of my clients ever see this, they're going to be like, oh my God, all she talks about is practice. It's the word that comes out of my mouth the most anymore. But it does, it takes practice. It takes repetition. We have to keep doing these things, but it's so worth it once you get there.
Do you have a story that you can share of a client who was stuck and what shifted for them?
Yeah, I have a ton. Let me think about this for a minute. So, yes, sort of a client who was really stuck procrastinating on launching her own program, getting her own business started. And she knew what she needed to do. She had the outline, she had the skills, she had everything ready, but she just kept telling herself she wasn't quite there. Like she wasn't ready enough. And so we talked about it a lot and I made sure that she knew she had everything ready. And once I realized that wasn't really the issue, then we got to talk about what that story was that was going through her mind. And she's like, "Well, I need another certification or I need this." And I said, "Oh my goodness. Do you know how many clients ever ask me if I have a certification? Very few." I have people all the time and they're like, "Oh, you're actually certified?" Yeah. Well, yes, I am. Like I did my due diligence. But they don't really ask you that. They don't, when they interview you, they don't ask you that. So we worked on that and we talked about it for a little while and we reshifted that belief. And we set a really empowering belief for her that was she was enough. Everything she had everything she needed. And so we set some boundaries around that. And when that old story would come back up, she'd just remind herself, no, I am ready. And one day she came in and she said, I launched my website. I launched my website. I launched everything. I got it all out there. And it even have had somebody, like I sent it to some friends, and one of them's like, I want to book you. And I was like, yes, yes, that's what it is. And so just having that change, that shift was what she needed. And so now she's fully booked out. She does her own thing and she loves it. And every once in a while she comes back to me and she's like, Jen, it comes back. And I said, I know, but you keep reminding it that it goes back away, that you don't need that you are enough, that you have everything you need. She goes, yeah. And it's so great. And she's like, I was even able to pass that down to somebody else that she was working with. And she's like, and they're getting it. And I'm like, fantastic. Like it's a ripple effect because we don't hold that. And, we don't hold all that information ourselves. We share it with the world when we find it. And I love that so much.
And what would it have been for her had she not gotten to that point to hit publish on that website? Again, what is she leaving on the table? What experiences is she leaving on the table? Relationships she's leaving on the table, financial aspect that she's leaving on the table, just to name a few. Now, you
Yeah.
did you did mention in your last statement the word boundaries, and I'm really glad you did because boundaries is such a buzzword. And for some people, it has like a negative connotation to it almost because of, everything that people have like put onto the word. But for business leaders, what do healthy boundaries look like?
Yeah. Healthy boundaries. I always say this, healthy boundaries look like clarity, what you're willing to handle so it's basically like what you'll do and what you won't do. It's like those non-negotiables. And when you can communicate that in a clear way where it's kind and it's compassionate, but it can be firm. It doesn't mean we have to just roll over. We can definitely be firm, but boundaries are not mean. Boundaries are there to just protect you and the other people that you're in business with. So as a leader, it looks like setting the example for your employees or the people that you're working with, whether it's clients, whatever, that this is what you're going to tolerate, this is what you won't, and then practicing it yourself. So, Catalina, you and I have a great leader in common in Renee Rebar because she 100% lets us know what she expects from us. And she doesn't even have to say it, she shows it. She models everything she does. and she's an incredible leader. I was thinking about that when I was getting ready this morning. I was like, we have the perfect role model right there because she absolutely, everything she teaches us, she's doing 100%. And that is having clear boundaries when you're a leader.
Yes, 100%. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs, CEOs, and high executives struggle with setting and holding those boundaries, especially when it comes to clients? They'll take phone calls at any any time that phone rings, or with team members, they don't have strong boundaries with them, or even with themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's huge. And I think a lot of it is we've been trained to be this way. We've been trained that when somebody calls, it's always an emergency and we have to jump right up and help them. And that's one of probably the biggest things I work with is helping women clear their calendar. We spend so much time with every little slot booked in. Everything has to be. And I struggled with that. So yeah, I struggled with that when I first quit my job and started working for myself and from home because I thought I had to be in my office like during normal business hours and I couldn't leave. And I realized I was making up work for myself. It was like, oh my gosh, why am I so tired all the time? Why am I drained? What is going on? Because some of my clients don't work, like they still work a full time job. And so a lot of times I'm coaching in the evenings, but I thought I had to be in my office at 8 a.m. And then I was in my office until 9 o'clock at night. And when I gave myself permission, and it was permission, it was like, you don't have to do this. I now block off times. Like I'm not in my office much before 10 a.m. because my mornings, I get to go do whatever I need to do. And there's a lot of times I'll take a 2 hour break over lunch. Not, and like usually it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I take a nice little break because I don't have anything else going on. And I'm going to work till 9 o'clock at night. And I've had people tell me, well, you're giving in to them. Like they'll schedule a call during the day. And yes, that could be the case. But if I'm here to make their life easier, that's something I can do. And this is how I've set up my schedule right now. It could change in a year. It could change in 2 years. That's totally fine. Maybe I don't want to work till 9 o'clock at night anymore. But I get to make that decision. And so if people are in this business and they're answering client calls at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, but you've worked all day, put your phone on do not disturb. Tell your clients, hey, I'll get back to you tomorrow. I don't answer emails or calls after 7 p.m. And if you're doing that, that's a great baby step. Is just to say to them, hey, if you call me, you can call me anytime you want, but I'm not going to get back to you until tomorrow. And I have that in my business. I use Voxer, and I tell my clients all the time, you can text me anytime you want, but I will not text you back. Like I keep Voxer hours, so they're from 9 to 4. So they don't have to be in Voxer all night long. Then I don't have to worry about it. And they know I'm going to get back to them the next day. They know that I'm coming through, but I don't have to worry about it. They can text me at 2 o'clock in the morning. My phone's on Do Not Disturb. They're not going to bother me. But I will get back to them the next day when the time is appropriate. And you have every right to do that too.
So setting aside time to turn off, essentially, to recharge your own batteries. Would you say that, I mean, that is one practical step to getting started with holding boundaries, but is there anything else that you would suggest for maybe somebody who's not even quite ready to do that step?
Well, I would say, I mean, it kind of goes along with that, but I would really say pick one time during the day or one time in your week. Like look at your calendar and pick one block of time in your week that's yours. Whether it's to plan things out whether it's to go on a walk or even just take a nap, lay down and give yourself some extra rest. And it doesn't have to be a 2 or 3 hour block. I'm talking 30 minutes. But give yourself a 30, I would encourage you to give yourself a 30-minute break every single day. But even if you start with once a week, schedule it, put it on your calendar so that it's there and make it a non negotiable. You can't break it for any reason, unless somebody's bleeding or dying, like that's yours because that's how you really start to prioritize yourself. That's how you start to implement those boundaries and you see how well they work. That's how I started. I was like, I don't have to do this. I get to plan things out. I started by putting my laundry days in there. So I was like, okay, I have laundry today. So when am I going to go, do laundry? I don't have to do that anymore. But when I started a few years ago, that's what I did because it made me feel less guilty.
And I think that's a big part of it is if I don't answer right away, am I not giving them, the customer service? Am I not providing my team, um, the support that they need as quickly as they need or something like that? I'm letting somebody down is ultimately what that comes down to, isn't it?
Absolutely. But, by doing that, you're teaching them that you're available 24/7. It's just another way of enabling them. So by setting that boundary and saying, hey, you can text me whenever you want, but I'll get back to you the next day, that shows them that, oh, she has other priorities. I don't have to be the main thing. But if something's on my mind, I can message and it's no big deal.
So leadership is just tough in any industry, but especially in a fast moving one like mortgages, where you're juggling so many different things at so many different times, at so many different checkpoints. What does leading with confidence mean to you?
So for me, it means showing up authentically. It means leading from clarity instead of comparison. I think that confidence isn't about having all the answers or having every answer. It's about being able to pivot when you need to and trusting yourself that you're going to figure it out and really being able to model that for your team. And so something that I talk a lot about with women is that confidence isn't confidence is like a muscle. So it is something that you can grow over time. So it's not, some people are born with confidence. There just are people that, I'm not joking, they come out of the womb and they are confident. They know what they're doing. But others of us, we have to work at it. So I spend a lot of time helping women see the evidence of things they've accomplished, things they've done, even if it's not exactly in the workforce, but they might do something similar at home with their family that could be transferred into that. And so we talk a lot about evidence, like find the evidence. Where have you done this? Where you can say, oh, I can duplicate that. Because that's how you build confidence. You duplicate it. You also do it and evaluate it and go, oh, this is where we could tweak this. And you tweak it. And you do it again. And you evaluate it. And you tweak it again until you get to where you want to be. Because it's not about being perfect, it's progress. Progress is the beautiful part of confidence.
That's such a good point. And, a lot of us deal with, like you said, imposter syndrome or perfectionism. So having that confidence built up that I still made progress, even though it wasn't perfect. And I let my yeses be yes and my no's be no's, like that I can trust my own self, my own words.
Yes, I love that.
What role does accountability play in building ooh, sorry. What role does accountability play in building trust, both with yourself and with your team?
Yeah. And it's huge. Accountability is huge because when you can hold yourself accountable, your team sees consistency. And that really builds trust, but it also builds trust with you. When you prioritize yourself, you're teaching yourself that you're important, that you matter. And that's really huge. So when you do that for yourself, then it's easier to do with your team. It's easier to do in the workplace because it shows them how much you value follow through,
Hmm.
not just your words. So action, it makes that action so important.
So you said you got certified as a health coach, a life coach, a transformational.
Just it's transfer it's coaching transformational and then a mastery of transformational coaching. So yeah,
I mean, again,
just deeper.
that's very, very well-rounded credentials on top of the experience. But what personal practices do you recommend that leaders adopt and keep so that they are recharging their energy and their mindset?
I think the most important thing you can do is to remind yourself. Actually started out as a self-care coach. That's really where I started, was the self-care, self-love. And I still love all that, and it shows up all the time. But I think, you said it earlier, pouring from an empty cup doesn't work. So I don't really preach the whole self-care thing anymore. It's all about self-love. What are you going to do that's going to be good for you today? I don't care what that is. I don't care if that's going and getting a 45-minute massage or getting a mani-pedi. But to me, if that fills you up, that's great. If it's spending an hour walking in nature, that's your self-care, self-love. If it's reading a devotional, like whatever that is, just getting your day started right. Like for me, that's my self-love. Is just getting up, getting some movement in, taking my supplements, doing my daily devotional, having that time to just be in gratitude. That's a huge part of it. And just really setting myself up for success so that I know the rest of my day, while it's not going to be perfect because nothing is, I know it's going to go as smoothly as I can set it up to be. And to me, that's where having that is so important. So it might even be an evening routine. Something that I've always heard is doing gratitude in the evening is just as important as doing gratitude in the morning, because you go to sleep with a grateful heart. And then a lot of times you wake up with a grateful heart. So you can do, I don't ever tell people they have to do both. Certainly can. A lot of people do, but it doesn't matter which one you do, just do it. And do it in the middle of the day. It's always going to be beneficial. So to me, gratitude is like the big thing, but I don't care how you do it, just be in that time for yourself. It's less about the activity and more about reconnecting with you.
You've gone through your day, you've set it up for success, you started your morning off strong, and towards the end of the day, something really is like a curveball, a good kick in the pants, and your mindset has shifted to dumpster fire, it's garbage, everything's garbage. How do you reset before you go to bed that night? How do you
Great
kind of come
question.
out of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, for me, I do a lot of breathing, and I usually go back to the gratitude thing because I think that's super important. That's really the best way I can shift my mindset is, okay, yes, I might have had a huge dumpster fire, but what was good out of it? Like, and it's not always looking for that silver lining. So people are like, "Oh, you always look for the silver lining." But it's not always about that. There's lessons in there. There's things that I'm supposed to get out of that. Am I taking that away and getting my lessons, or am I just leaving it and I'm going to have to learn it again? So there's a lot of truth in that. Like, what do I want to relearn? So I want to learn my lessons once and be done. So that's really where it's at. And the other thing that I think a lot of people miss, and I'm going to say this, hopefully it hits somebody, don't continue to rehash it. If you need to talk it out, talk it out. Find a trusted person and talk it out, but then let it go. The more we rehash it, the more it lives inside of us. And the more anxious we get and edgy we get or angry, whatever it is that's coming up for us. So rehash it if you need to once, but don't keep rehashing it. I had a trusted coach one time tell me that when you have clients, this was how he phrased it, but he said when you have clients that come to you with a problem, and then like the next week they bring that same problem up and they tell you that they've told 3 people, they're no longer looking for a solution, they just want the attention from it. And I think that's true. So, are you an attention seeker or are you a solution-based person who wants to fix it and make it better?
So, for again, these high producing either team leads, loan officers, business owners, they are seeing that they maybe haven't had those boundaries in place. And now they're listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I need to start putting these boundaries in place. Well, how do you start to encourage consistency with that or implementing it to get your team on board? Like, I'm trying to, reshift the way that the clients are interacting or the way that we're interacting as a team without, rocking the boat too much because too big of a shift is going to not be good for you, business, everybody.
Yeah, so the best way I would say to do that is to well, I would tell you to look at your core values. What are your core values in your business? And what's like the main one that you feel like people are pushing up against? And start with one area of a boundary and let everybody know what it is. Like you don't have to call it a rule. You could just say, "Hey, from now on, this is how we're treating this. This is how we're going about this." And then it's the consistency of reminding them. When they break it, you don't get angry. You don't discipline them. You just say, "Oh yeah, remember we're switching this." And that's where, each time you can get a little more firm with it. You can be like, "Hey, don't forget this is what we're doing now." And then after a few times if they're not getting it, it might be more of a conversation. What about this is making it difficult? What could we do for you? Because there might be one person specifically. So then what can we do for that one person to help them remember that this is now how we deal with this situation? And I think that's it. It's really a matter of just reminding people that this is the boundary and not taking it offensively. They're not trying. Most people are not in this world out there like to just get you or to do things that you don't want them to do. They just simply have so much going on that they don't remember. They have a way they've done it and they're used to it. But when we just gently remind them, "Hey, this is how we're doing it now. What can I do to help you with that?" That's being a good leader and really taking their life into account as much as what you need. I'm just really reminding them. And then, you get to decide when it's too much, when they're not following and then that's a whole nother subject. But I would say to the point where you can do it, just keep reminding them.
I think that's really good advice and really good practicality because saying it and then doing it and actually like implementing it for the long haul is obviously going to be the struggle. And that's probably why it is so awesome to have somebody like you in your corner as an accountability coach. Okay, what lessons did you take away from this and how can you stay consistent with your messaging? Um, but how important is it for leaders to take care of their whole self and not just their business self?
Oh, well, that's 100%. That's for everyone, not just leaders, but that's for everyone. Because again, how can you be a good leader? How can you model the things you want your staff to do or your clients to do or anyone if you can't do them for yourself? So that's 100%. That's why doing the things for you are so important. That's why So chapter 3 of my book is all about self-boundaries. Because if we don't master that first, we can't uphold boundaries with anyone else. And they will know that we don't uphold our own. So why would they uphold our boundaries? So it's absolutely the vital piece.
If you guys checked out at any point in the talk so far, this is the time to tune back in. If you're not holding those boundaries with yourself, how can you expect anybody else to hold those with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So for any business owner who's listening, who's just feeling stuck, burned out, bleh, what's that one piece of encouragement that you would give them today?
I would say you're not alone and you don't have to do this alone. There are people out there. I mean, I am out there. That is what I do. I work with business women. So there are people out there that want to help you and support you. And it's not brave to go it alone. It's actually more brave to ask for help. So if you think people are going to look at you funny or, your employees are going to say something about you having support, well, you're their support. So they have support. Why shouldn't you? And if you ever hire, like this is my thing, but I never hire a coach that doesn't have a coach. Like, excuse me. If I ever have somebody that tells me like, I don't have a coach, and I'm like, oh, I'm out. I'm out. I have 4 coaches, like all sorts of people that support me and keep me accountable and love on me when I need it. And that number grows every year. It's like I run into amazing people like Catalina and I'm like, oh, be in my world. Like be there to support me because that's what it's about. It doesn't have to be someone that you pay, but someone that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to see you and meet you where you're at and really love on you in a kind, caring way, but give you the kick in the butt when you need it and say, you know what? I don't think you're doing this right. That's what it's all about.
That's so true. So, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more about your coaching and your books?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way is probably my website, which is thankfulheartscoaching.com. And I have like you get on there, it's gonna connect you to my newsletter, which is just a weekly pep talk. So that's a lot of fun and that's just a great way to get into my world. There's also a Pathfinders call that's free. So you can schedule that. We can have a conversation. That's a beautiful thing. Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No is on Amazon. I've also been a part of a couple of book collaborations, and those are linked in my website as well. It shows my services. It's got everything. Just reach out and go to the form and just send me a message if nothing else. Say, hey, I want to just have a conversation with you, but I don't know what I want to talk about. Great, let's do it. I'm open for all of it, so that's never an issue.
Thank you so much for being on with us today. I really appreciate you sharing those insights, those tips, those implementations that many people can, regardless of whether you're male or female. I think there is something that you can take away from this, but specifically talking to those female leaders out there, let your yeses be yes and your nos be nos, and it's okay. Fill your cup up.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Catalina. This was lovely. And I just appreciate your time and all of your listeners' times.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Jen Anderson for joining me today and sharing her insights on boundaries, beliefs, and the confidence in leadership. If this episode hit home, make sure that you like and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs this reminder that no is a complete sentence. And follow along on Instagram at approvedaf_licensing for more tips, clips, and behind the scenes from the podcast. So until next time, stay licensed, stay compliant, and stay approved AF.